Hi, I'm Bill Merrell, and I'm the host for Things They Usually Don't Teach You. The program we're doing today is going to be fast. When I say that, there's not a whole lot of talking going on, but in fact, a bunch of facts, and especially the last couple of slides are very important for everybody's reasoning. Well, let's get started. There are more life forms living on your skin than there are people on the planet. Think about that whenever you tell your parents you don't want to take a bath. Leonardo da Vinci could write with one hand and paint with the other at the same time. See, these are facts you can't live without. The last man to walk on the moon, Gene Cernan, promised his daughter he'd write her initials on the moon. He did, and her initials, TDC, will probably be on the moon for tens of thousands of years. Since 1893, a 3-foot stone chair memorializing the Confederacy has stood at Confederate Circle in Selma, Alabama's old live oak cemetery. Last month, however, it disappeared. As it stands, there's a $5,000 reward for information leading to the return of the Jefferson Davis chair. The mimic octopus can not only change colors, but will mimic the shapes of other animals, like the flounder, the lionfish, and the sea snakes. In the 1960s, the CIA tried to spy on the Kremlin and Russian embassies by turning cats into listening devices. The program, called Acoustic Kitty, involved surgically implanting batteries, microphones, and antennas inside cats. Like I said, you can't live without this stuff, right? Tomatoes are fruit, not a vegetable. The 3 wealthiest families in the world have more assets than the combined wealth of 48 poorest nations. You have to let that sink in for a second, because that's really crazy. Caterpillars completely liquefy as they transform into moths. You don't learn that in your science class. The wreck of the SS Western Reserve, 132 years after it sank to the bottom of Lake Superior. On August 30th, 1892, shipping magnate Peter G. Munch set out with his family and 22 crew members aboard his ship, the SS Western Reserve, for a pleasure cruise through Lake Superior. But a storm sank the vessel, leaving all but one of them dead. Director of Marine Operations Darrell Ertert and his brother and first mate Dan Ertl, had been searching for the wreck of the Western Reserve for 2 years. In the summer of 2024, they finally succeeded while conducting scans of Lake Superior. Green eggs and ham. Dr. Seuss wrote Green Eggs and Ham to win a bet against his publisher, who thought that he could not complete a book with only 50 words. Lego bricks withstand compression better than concrete. An ordinary plastic Lego brick is able to support the weight of 375,000 other bricks before it fails. This theoretically will allow you to build a tower nearly 3.5 kilometers in height. Scaling this up to house-sized bricks, however, would cost far too much. When the University of Nebraska Cornhuskers play football at home, the stadium becomes the state's third largest city. Forbes estimated in 2011 that Scrooge McDuck was worth $44.1 billion. Who holds the record for the most expensive painting ever sold by a living artist? Gerhard Reich, Jasper Jones, David Hockney, Jeff Koons? Well, the answer is David Hockney. David Hockney, the renowned British artist, holds the record for the most expensive painting ever sold by a living artist, a remarkable achievement that underscores the significant impact on contemporary art. In March 2018, his iconic work, Portrait of an Artist, Pool with Two Figures, was sold at Christie's auction house for an astonishing $90.3 million. This sale not only highlighted Hockney's mastery in capturing light and color, but also marked a pivotal moment in the art world, demonstrating the soaring value of contemporary art. And here's the picture. Now, I have to be honest with you. Whenever I've seen the high school students here at Peters put their art up, a lot of it's a lot nicer. Two-thirds of the people on Earth have never seen snow. And everybody's wishing they lived in those areas. The Bronze Age slab unearthed in France is the oldest 3D map in Europe. We tend to underestimate the geographical knowledge of the past societies. This slab is important as it highlights this cartographical knowledge. This is probably the oldest map of territory that has been identified, said Dr. Clements Nicholas of Bournemouth University. There are several such maps carved in stone all over the world. Generally, they are just interpretations, but this is the first time a map has depicted an area of a specific scale. The piece of rock, known as the St. Bilac slab, is believed to date the early Bronze Age between 1900 BC and 1650 BC. One of our trips to Europe, we went to the Vatican, and they have a map room that, in fact, has a map that cartologists have, in fact, found that the peak of one of the mountains that they did almost 600 years ago was 3 feet off what they were able to do today. So that's how close these people worked. It's phenomenal when you see their stuff. A hummingbird weighs less than a penny. There are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on Earth. Look up at the night sky and try to imagine counting all the stars. It's impossible. Scientists estimate that there are about 10 billion galaxies in the observable universe, with each about 100 billion stars. That's way more than all the grains of sand on all the beaches in the world. There are more vacant houses than homeless people in the United States. Earth is 4.54 billion years old. Using radiometric dating, scientists have discovered that the Earth is 4.54 billion years old, give or take 50 million years. This makes our planet half the age of the Milky Way galaxy, 11 to 13 billion years old, and around the third of the age of the universe, 10 to 15 billion years old. Bees can fly higher than Mount Everest. When St. Louis held the 1904 Summer Olympic Games, events included greased pole climbing, rock throwing, and mud fighting. The woolly mammoth was around when the Egyptian pyramids were being built. Meet the 4,000-year-old olive tree that saw the rise and fall of Alexander the Great's empire. The olive tree of Vivos is one of the oldest living olive trees in the world, with estimates range from 2,000 to as many as 4,000 years old. If at the upper end of these estimates, it may predate historical figures like Alexander the Great and Plethores. The flock of ravens is called an unkindness. This ancient Egyptian map to the underworld is the oldest illustrated book ever found. Even those who know little of ancient Egypt's mysteries have heard about the infamous Book of the Dead, and now researchers have found a similar text that not only predates that one, but may also be the oldest illustrated book ever uncovered. According to the New York Times, Egyptologists found parts of the illustrated book that served as a guide to reach Rasra, the underworld ruled by Osiris, the Egyptian god of death. Where did the term come from? The term bug in computer has been around for a long time. The term was not commonly used until an actual bug landed on an electrical switch, causing the computer to malfunction. The term bug grew in popularity after landed us where we are today. Also, when we find a bug in the software, we apply a patch. This comes from an old Cardex punch card system. If a punch card was punched in the wrong spot, you could fix it by applying a patch to the hole. A snake with two heads will fight over food. A shark can detect 1 part of blood in 100 million parts of water. So when you hear these terms about shark attacks, you now have a pretty good clue on how they detect where people are. In Idaho, no cannibalism is allowed. Idaho is the only state to have an active ban on cannibalism. Technically not a crime in the rest of the nation, cannibalism is defined as a non-consensual consumption of another human. Meaning, we guess, if you get your buddy's permission to eat his tenderloin, the feds can't stop you. The national animal of Scotland is a unicorn. The name Jeep came from the abbreviation used in the Army for General Purpose Vehicle, GP. Pablo Escobar's drug submarine was found off the coast of Colombia. After years of searching, one of Pablo Escobar's famed drug smuggling submarines had been found. Former CIA agents Doug Locks and Ben Smith reportedly located the submarine off the coast of Colombia. The exact location has not been disclosed, and have been sending divers down in the hopes of locating Escobar's rumored $500 billion fortune. Escobar used submarines and is known to have at least one of his own to transport cocaine from Colombia to Puerto Rico, where it would then be carried to Miami by speedboats. Rumors that this still missing $50 billion fortune could be stashed in one of Narco's subs has swirled for years, making the discovery all that more valuable. Glass sponges can live for 15,000 years. This makes them one of the longest living organisms on Earth. The immortal jellyfish, however, could theoretically live forever, but scientists aren't sure. The FDA regulation allows 10 insects and 35 fruit fly eggs per 8 ounces of raisins. I'll bet you'll be thinking about that the next time you... You are 1% shorter in the evening than you start out in the morning. The Earth's rotation is changing speed. It's actually slowing. That means that on an average length of a day increases by around 1.8 seconds per century. 600 million years ago, the day lasted just 31 hours. After racking up $40 in late fees for VHS, Reed Hastings was inspired to start Netflix. A hippo can open its mouth wide enough to fit a 4-foot child inside. In 1980, John Favreau accidentally runs over Frank Gotti. John Favreau fatally runs over Frank Gotti, the son of mafia boss John Gotti, in New York City. When Frank Gotti biked across the street to play, an intoxicated Favreau struck the boy with his car and dragged the body for 200 feet. As people screamed for him to stop, later Favreau expressed no remorse for his actions, instead blaming the young Gotti for being reckless. On July 25th of that year, John Gotti and his wife booked a trip to Florida for a little family bonding time in the sun after such a tragic event. 3 days later, Favreau went missing. Upon return to New York City, Gotti told the police that he had no idea what happened to Favreau. As of today, Favreau remains a missing person. "15% of the air you breathe in a metro station is human skin." Massachusetts. No dancing to the national anthem. it is prohibited to dance to the Star-Spangled Banner in Massachusetts. Thanks to excessively patriotic 1917 law, while you try to ponder what such a dance would look like, find solace in the fact that the law could never actually be enforced thanks to the slightly weightier document called the First Amendment. Donald Duck comics were banned from Finland because he doesn't wear pants. French was the official language of England for over 600 years. And just think, if the United States didn't get involved with the war, they would be speaking German at this time. A flea can jump 350 times its body length, the equivalent of a human jumping the length of a football field. Three generations of Amazon women warriors discovered in an ancient tomb in Russia. Archaeologists in Russia has uncovered the remains of 4 Amazon women of different ages buried at the same tomb. According to CNN, this is the first time in history that such a discovery had been made. Published by the Institute of Archaeology and the Russian Academy of Sciences, the new study estimates one girl to have been between 12 and 13 years old when she died. The second was between 20 and 29, the third 25 to 35, and the fourth 45 to 50. Items discovered at the burial site included iron arrowheads, a bird-shaped hook made of iron, horse harnesses, harness hooks, iron knives, animal bones, various vessels, and a broken black vase. All help researchers estimate the burial to be taking place in the 4th century BC. This suggests the warrior women were Scythians, who were ancient warriors living throughout Siberia between 200 and 900 BC. Female Scythians, in turn, were Amazons, and they inspired that was the inspiration behind Wonder Woman. You are more likely to die from a falling coconut than a shark attack. The chance of you dying on the way to get a lottery ticket is actually greater than your chance of winning. Elvis Presley got a C grade in his 8th grade music class. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai is the world's tallest building, reaching a breathtaking 828 meters or 27,016 feet into the sky. That's over half a mile. You can see it in comparison to the other buildings that were once considered tall in Dubai. Coca-Cola would be green if coloring wasn't added to it. Montana, no FOLF. Anyone who's driven through Montana has inevitably wondered, how far could I throw a frisbee over the plains? Those who seek answers avoid Helena. It is illegal to play FOLF, that's frisbee golf, anywhere not deemed a sanctioned FOLF course. Curiosity could cost you $500 or 6 months in jail. Is Africa splitting in two? Here's why scientists think that continent is breaking apart. Africa's split is due to tectonic activity in the Great Rift Valley that will eventually divide the continent and create a new sixth ocean. The first sign of Africa splitting in Ethiopia in 2005, a significant geological event unfolded in Ethiopia's Afar region, where a series of earthquakes culminated in the formation of massive fissure approximately 35 miles long and roughly 20 feet wide in certain areas. The rift emerged over a span of just a few days, with geologists quickly suggesting it could one day spawn a new ocean. According to the 2009 Live Science report, the event was initiated by an eruption at the Dubahu volcano located in the northern end of the rift. Now, when it comes to tectonic shifts and everything else, I don't know if anybody has been paying attention to the news, but 7 of the areas of the Pacific Rim are active right now, including California. You just heard about, I'm sure, on the news, the terrible events happening in Thailand. But they have gone all the way down through South America. So that it seems like that entire rim is in fact moving. So this may not be too far from being what's going on. The average mattress doubles in weight over the course of 10 years due to the accumulation of dust mites and dust mite poop. It's always good to know what you're sleeping on. Wearing a tie can reduce blood flow to the brain by 7.5%. A study in 2018 found that wearing a necktie can reduce the blood flow to your brain by up to 7.5%, which can make you feel dizzy, nauseous, cause headaches. They can also increase the pressure in your eyes if on too tight they are carrying and are great at carrying germs. That's why I let you read this again, because after looking at this 100 times, you get a little tongue-tied. United States, Burma, and Liberia are the only countries in the world that have not officially adopted the metric system, the standard of measurement. Cows have best friends and experience stress when they are removed from them. Okay, we're going to stop there, and we're going to pick it up on the second half. Hope you come back. Hi, thanks for coming back. This is things they usually don't teach you, and this is fast facts. All right, let's go back here to the last slide about cows have best friends and experience stress when they are removed from them. All right, I raised horses, and they have the same thing. When we used to take two of our show horses to shows, the other horses would stand at the fence waiting for them to come back. So yeah, this is just apparently a human trait that is given to good friends. Words that are spelled the same but pronounced with emphasis on different syllables are actually indicative of a part of speech they are. Stress on the first syllable is a noun. Stress on the last syllable is a verb. Example, contract or contract. You were signed a contract, but you contracted disease. The former is a noun, sign this contract, whereas the latter, the muscles contract. Same with record. You can buy a record or you can record something. You can have an impact or you can have impact. You object as an attorney or there's an object on the table. So these mean this different things but spelled the same. During the year 1881, 3 men served as President of the United States: Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, and Chester A. Arthur. What happened to the Ark of the Covenant, and where is the sacred relic today? Believed to hold the original stone tablets inscribed with the 10 Commandments, the Ark of the Covenant disappeared around 586 BCE, and its fate remains a mystery. The Book of 2 Maccabees suggests that the Ark of the Covenant is located somewhere in Mount Nebo in Jordan. However, the prophet Jeremiah proclaims that the object's exact location shall remain unknown until God gathers his people together and shows his mercy. The book of Revelation similarly suggests that the Ark of the Covenant will remain hidden until a significant moment, the apocalypse. Did you know Africa was once made up of 10,000 states before colonial rule? Africa was made up of 10,000 different states, autonomous groups, and each with their own very distinct language and unique customs. Bingo is only for non-felons. Fool me once, shame on you. No person convicted of any felony may operate a bingo game in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. Most maps of the world are wrong. On most maps, the Mercator projection, first developed in 1569, is still used. This method of widely inaccurate and makes Alaska appear as large as Brazil and Greenland 14 times larger than it actually is. For a map to be completely accurate, it would need to be life-size and round, not flat. Needless to say, the blue lines are what maps are looking like today, and the green is what the countries actually look like, or the continents. In 1386, a pig in France was executed by public hanging for the murder of a child. An ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain. I mean, you don't find these facts just anywhere, you know. It's a shame they don't teach them. The story of Athelstan is the unlikely ruler who became the first king of England. An illegitimate son born to the king's mistress, Athelstan eventually united the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms and took over from the remaining Viking strongholds in the region, then finally became England's first king in 927. Born to Edward the Elder and his mistress, Athelstan faced opposition due to his questionable legitimacy. Despite this, he secured the position as king of the Anglo-Saxons in 925. Unified England in 927 and cemented his rule by defeating the enemy at the Battle of Brunethburth in 937. As king, Athenian centralized government, codified laws, and improved England's monetary system. He also forged alliances across Europe through intermarriage, bolstering England's security. He died in 939 without heirs, leading to a political instability and a temporary division of England. Clans of long ago that wanted to get rid of unwanted people without killing them used to burn down their houses, hence the expression, to get fired. A jiffy is an actual unit of time for 1/100th of a second. A football team wearing red kits play better. The color of your clothes can affect how you're perceived by others and change how you feel. A review of football matches in the last 55 years, for example, show that teams wearing a red kit consistently played better in home matches than teams in any other color. Needless to say, I had to take this because being a proud Peters Township High School graduate myself and the Indian in 1968 before the Earth's crust cooled, I pulled this out of their website. 6 named All-American or All-State in football. Congratulations. For years, the pharmaceutical company Bayer held the trademark for the word heroin and sold the drug as a cough and headache remedy. Rabbits don't have paw pads like cats and dogs. They've got nothing but fluffy feet. If you see a cartoon rabbit with paw pads, it's all lies. An average NFL football game, there are only about 12 minutes of actual play time. Remarkable 2,200-year-old Celtic warrior grave complete with horses, chariot, and shield unearthed in Yorkshire. The grave itself was unearthed a year ago, but the discovery of the shield is so rare that it has been deemed one of the most significant finds of its kind in 1,000 years. According to the Yorkshire Post, there have been roughly 200 chariot graves found like this in the last century across England, and mostly in Yorkshire. This particular grave was first unearthed about a year ago, but it has continued to yield ancient treasures. Archaeologists believe that the grave dates back to more than 2,000 years during the Iron Age. The corpse found inside the grave is believed to have been in his late 40s at the time of his death, which is likely sometime between 320 BC and 174 BC. It would take 1,200,000 mosquitoes, each sucking at once, to completely drain the average human body of blood. You have to wonder who actually thinks of this stuff. Wind turbines kill between 10,000 and 100,000 birds each year in the United Kingdom. Interesting, painting one of the blades of the wind turbine black can reduce bird deaths by 70%. You would think that we would have learned that lesson here in the United States, but as you see, if you ever pass these when you're traveling Pennsylvania highway going to the Harrisburg or something, all of they just look exactly like the picture that you saw. They're all white. A day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. Venus is a fascinating planet. Did you know it takes longer for Venus to rotate once on its axis than it does for it to orbit the Sun? A single day on Venus is about 243 Earth days, while a year on Venus is around 225 Earth days. So if you lived there, you'd have a birthday before the day was over. If you started with a penny and doubled your money every day, it would take 27 days to become a millionaire. I can see everybody now thinking, how can I do that? Bamboo is the world's fastest growing plant. Bamboo is fast growing grass, a hollowed stem. It's used to create a number of sustainable products, but it's best known for being a food structure for giant pandas. Bamboo also happens to be the world's fastest growing plant. One species of bamboo can even grow 35 inches in a single day, and some species reach full maturity in just 90 days. Not only does bamboo grow exceptionally fast, it also happens to hold the Guinness World Record for the fastest growing plant. 9,000-year-old city unearthed near Jerusalem is a game changer for archaeologists. An excavation project archaeologists are calling the game changer in Matzah near the city of Jerusalem has revealed an expansive 9,000-year-old settlement. According to the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, the site was saved when builders surveyed it before planning construction of a highway. The research team estimated a population of between 2,000 to 3,000 people once lived there in the settlement, an order of magnitude that parallels a present-day city, the team said. So far, it was believed that the Judea area was empty and that sites of that size existed only on the other bank of the Jordan River or on the North Levant. A joint statement by Verdi and archaeologist Hamundi Kafalia read. Oh, let me go back here. Dogs are capable of understanding up to 250 words and gestures. They have demonstrated the ability to do simple math calculations also. You travel 2.5 million kilometers a day around the sun without realizing it. The Earth's orbit travels around 2.5 million kilometers with respect to the sun's center, and around 19 million kilometers with respect to the center of the Milky Way. The longest jellyfish on record measures 160 feet. Only 1 person in 2 billion will live to be 116 years old. Now, if you listen to the news recently, you've been told that there are thousands of people that are on our Social Security records that are above 120 years old. So mathematically, how does that work? Central Park in New York is larger than the entire country of Monaco. And if you look at it, the area where the park and the high school is here, two and a half times that area would be the size of Monaco. Venus is the only planet to spin clockwise. The world's longest concert. The longest concert by multiple artists was 437 hours, 54 minutes, and 40 seconds. It was achieved by Kevin Kerr, Shan Armstrong, and the Epidemic Music Group, all Canadians, at the Earl of Whitchurch, Ontario, Canada, 17 March to 5 April 2017. The Epidemic Music Group chose to break this record to bring their nation together during a national celebration of Canada's 150th anniversary. Uppercase letters are called that because they could be found in the upper drawer of the printing press. Lowercase could be found in the lowercase of the printing press. Blech. The story of Humpty Dumpty doesn't explicitly state that he was an egg. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. It also doesn't mention that he was a he. Poison dart frogs obtain their poison by eating poisonous bugs, like fire ants. When you feed them crickets and such, they are perfectly safe to handle. The Guinness Book of Records holds the record for being the most often stolen from public libraries. I don't know if that's a record you really want to have. Sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins. Sloths can hold their breath for up to 40 minutes, which is longer than most dolphins. They do this by slowing their heart rate to a third of its normal rate, conserving energy and oxygen. This guy looks pretty comfortable. A giraffe can clean its own ears with its 21-inch tongue. Frozen lobsters can come back to life when thawed. Flamingos get their pink color from the seafood they eat. Change the food, they'd be a different color. Aldoxophobia is the fear of other people's opinions. It's a rare social phobia that is characterized by an irrational and overwhelming fear of what other people think. Kim Kardashian has a glam clause in her will. It states that if she ever is in a position where she can't ready herself, can't communicate, or she's unconscious, someone has to make her hair, nails, and makeup, make sure they're all perfect. And lastly, we all know the dinosaurs died out of a long time ago, 65 million years ago. But what's even longer, they roamed the earth for 165 million years. The Stegosaurus went extinct 66 million years before the T-Rex even existed. Now here's an interesting fact. April is the month of the military child. And many of you aren't familiar with kids moving in because we're not near a military base. Being a retired military and a school teacher, I had to deal with this a couple of times. The military kids are faced with a bunch of issues. The relocation is one of they have to go wherever their parents are assigned, if it's California or Pennsylvania or Florida or wherever. They leave old friends going to where they know no one, which puts them at a disadvantage. Separation from their parents when they get assignments from away from their home base, possible to a war zone or conflict, causes a lot of stress on a student. Trying to meet new friends and local new social norms. I used to teach, and a kid from Texas moved in. He wore his cowboy boots and his hat. And kids in Pittsburgh looked at him like he was strange. But he was from Texas. That was the norm. So when you moved into this new community, how are you supposed to dress if you don't know what you're supposed to do? And kids made fun of him, which was really sad. Kids can be terrible. And like I said, he was a really nice kid too. But anyhow, if somebody moves in, social norms, try to be nice to them. Continued periods of stress, the school, medical care. In the military, if you're on an active duty military base, they have a hospital right there, and they have all your records and everything. But if you have to find new doctors to deal with here in the civilian world, it causes a lot of problems. Changing to meet the educational standards of the schools. You know, they did a study where none of the states' educational systems, in fact, got higher than a C. You know, California used to be, back in the 60s, California's entire state is the same school system. And they used to be number one. Now they're in the lower 1/5 as far as academics. Stay-at-home parents, change of employment. You know, a mother or a father who is married to a military member moves with the military member when they get orders. And they might have a good job where they're leaving, and they come and they don't know what they're doing, which causes financial stress for the family, but it also causes some tension at the home life. So please pay attention to that. Okay, this next one is very important, and I'll discuss why in a second. Oh, by the way, parents and teachers can get more information. Month of the Military Child Toolkit. It gives you a whole lot of things to do to help these kids. Ways to secretly signal for help if there's violence in your home or you're in danger. This is very important, all right? Several silent signals have popped up for people to ask for help if they're in danger, including universal hand signal, which we'll talk about. Angel shots, if a guy has you at a bar and you don't feel comfortable, you can ask the bartender for an angel shot. That's a sign that they have learned that in fact means that you're under distress. Asking for Angela, too, is another sign. Is Angela here? Okay, there are also alarm accessories, new features from ride-sharing companies and everything else. If you need immediate help, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And I'll share this with you that I found out. A friend of mine who was our valedictorian stayed with me for a week here a couple years ago. And he expressed to me the number of friends that I had in high school here that were under serious stress at home. Some of them were abused that I didn't know about, which made me feel terrible. And it was just a terrible situation. So, but anyhow, like I said, this next slide will talk to you about something, a signal that you can give if you are in fact in trouble. Ways to secretly signal for help if there's violence at home or if you're in danger.
Do you know what this hand gesture means? Well, you should, and now you do, because this means I need help. It's been popularized on TikTok to help victims of domestic violence. And when a teenage girl flashed that hand signal to a passing car, Amber Cagliano says they knew just what to do. They called the cops.
It's the hand signal that could save your life. A teenager was in a car driven by her accused kidnapper when she flashed a gesture to a passing motorist who immediately recognized it as a symbol for a woman in distress. Here's how it works. Place your hand like this, palms out. Then tuck your thumb into the center of the palm and cover it with your fingers. The Good Samaritan called 911.
I've been following this Toyota Corolla from Madison County. This female on the passenger side, brunette, motioning for help, call 911.
She was giving the TikTok signal, the hand gesture signifying that she needed help.
The teen apparently learned the hand gesture after watching this demonstration on TikTok. A woman using the signal as her abuser stands in the background.
Well, I really appreciate it.
She's talking about a recipe, then gives her friend the signal. The demo was developed by the Women's Funding Network and became popular during the pandemic because many victims had to quarantine with their abusers. This was a way of seeking help without having to verbalize it. There is even speculation that slain Gabby Petito may have used the gesture back in August when she and her boyfriend Brian Laundrie were pulled over by police in Utah.
Just all one fluid movement. And it says, I need somebody to check in with me in a safe way.
After the 911 call, police in Kentucky intercepted the silver Toyota as it exited the highway. They found the 16-year-old girl and the 61-year-old man behind the wheel. She told authorities she had been trying to get someone's attention for days until finally somebody recognized the hand gesture. She told police the suspect had driven her on a terrifying odyssey through North Carolina, Tennessee, Ohio, and Kentucky. James Herbert Brick was arrested at the scene and charged with unlawful imprisonment.
We were so relieved that not only did she know to use the hand signal in that circumstance, but somebody knew to respond to it, knew that that means I need help.
This hand signal is...
And now all of you know, too, the teen who was rescued using the gesture had been reported by her parents as missing 2 days earlier.
right, I'd like to thank you for coming to watch the show today. Once again, the program went fast because of the fact there's so many slides, but I thought there was a lot of information. The last two are especially, close to my heart because of the fact, once again, too many people are put in situations that they shouldn't have to be put into. But anyhow, look forward to seeing you the next time. We have things they usually don't teach you.